Several years ago, I came across a book by Alan Lowy McGinnis entitled "The Power of Optimism." In that book, McGinnis defined optimism as a bright and hopeful feeling about life in which one expects things to turn out all right. A belief that there is more good than evil in the world. Now note, he describes it as things will turn out all right, not perfect. And he suggests there's more good than evil, not no evil. But the piece that really caught my attention is that McGinnis identified 12 behaviors as indicators of optimism. And it was the first time that I had thought through the process that when I'm feeling less than optimistic, I can consciously implement some of those 12 behaviors and in effect increase my optimism. As you look through that list of the 12 behaviors, I'd like to draw your attention to 3 that I believe have a direct application to working in coaching. I'd like to draw your attention to the indicator that optimists value partial solutions. In working with that, many of the problems that a teacher might be tackling with a coach are actually a larger problem made up of a lot of smaller ones. And the teacher can find him or herself in the position of spending time every day on each of those small problems, only to go home at the end of the day knowing that you've survived, but you're coming back tomorrow to face all those problems again. What I find applies to optimists is that they look to take all of those problems, kind of put them in a funnel, and if you think of it, press down on the top of the funnel until one of those problems is pulled out the bottom of the funnel. Then while there's a Band-Aid on the others, they put their full attention into solving that particular problem. And when they do, they reach up and pull another one down out of the funnel and tackle that problem. And after a while, you in effect open up the log jam in the funnel, and problems that you didn't even focus on end up being solved. A pessimist, in effect, can't get started because they can't see a solution to all of the problems. So part of what I'm doing as a coach is identifying a smaller problem or a piece of the problem, which if the teacher dealt with it successfully, it would provide the teacher with some reinforcement and encourage them to keep going, and that success then would build. The second item from McGinnis's list that I'd like to draw your attention to is the one that says optimists use their imagination to rehearse success. That's partly where modeling fits in, but the confidence of the coach in working with the teacher, the growth mindset of the coach's belief in the teacher helps the teacher create this picture of him or herself successfully executing what they wish to learn, what they wish to accomplish before it happens. So as a coach, I'm thinking with the teacher through that process of what it will look like and encouraging the teacher to see that successful scenario at the end. And the last one I want to draw your attention to is the one that's first on McGinnis's list, and that is that optimists are never surprised by trouble. That's the one that most often surprises people when they look at McGinnis's list. There's kind of this image that the optimist is someone walking around with their heads up in the clouds and they don't see the negative things happening around them. But it turns out that the optimist is skilled at playing a game called worst case scenario. So not only does the optimist have that ability to picture themselves being successful, but they also stop and take a moment and consider what's the worst thing that could happen. So if I took this new strategy that I've never done before, if I tried this technology that I've not used with students before, and I'm going to implement it into a lesson, there's a moment to stop and go, okay, what's the worst thing that could happen? And the optimist, having seen the worst thing that could happen, either decides, number one, it's no big deal, or two, if it happens, I'll have an alternative plan, or maybe I'm going to modify my idea just a little bit to decrease a negative impact that the worst case scenario could have. But with that done, what's so valuable here is that the optimist is able to then put all of their attention and energy into making the positive outcome occur because they don't have to worry about the worst case scenario. The pessimistic side is the side that is never really sure what the worst case scenario is, but is always worried about it. And that worry about the worst case scenario, in effect, draws their attention away from making the successful piece happen. So I find coaches kind of want to shy away from this, but once you're in a planning with a teacher to try something different, to work on a solution, if the teacher doesn't bring up the worst case scenario, I suggest that the coach ask the question. You've worked, you've got the teacher all excited, she's ready to run with this. Take that moment and ask, where could this go wrong? What's the worst thing that could happen if this doesn't work tomorrow? And while that feels strange, there's actually a confidence that can occur in the coach-teacher relationship when the teacher realizes that the coach's thinking has helped her play out the worst case scenario, put it aside, and now I don't have a worry about it. Optimism is important to a growth mindset and to ongoing learning. As a coach working with teachers, look at how you can model that optimism.